Hello and welcome, I'm Liam the Music Reviewer. Enjoy the money. I hope it makes you happy. Dear Lord, what a sad little life, Jane. You demand it completely so you could have the money, and I hope now you spend it on lessons in grace and decorum, because you have all the grace for a reversing dump truck without any tyres on. And today we're going to be debuting a new series simply called Why I Love. Think of it as a video version of these topster charts you always see on Twitter, an essentials guide made by yours truly that will allow me to spread those wholesome vibes and praise records. So with the stage being set, it's time to just dive right into the debut entry of this series, which is going to be on A Grand Don't Come For Free by The Streets. Birmingham, future host of the Commonwealth Games and home to the ugliest building on the fucking planet. The English city is also the birthplace of Mike Skinner, head honcho of the hip-hop project known as The Streets. Prior to the release of A Grand Don't Come For Free, The Streets wasn't a little-known act, having received critical acclaim for debut release Original Pirate Material, which managed to fire some singles into the top 40. Now, Original Pirate Material is often regarded as the best record by The Streets, and it's certainly easy to argue why that might be the case. Skinner? No, not that one. Running by the mantra of pushing things forward, things being the garage genre. My experience of listening to UK garage, which was huge, was in people's cars and houses said Skinner, no, not that one, in a 2009 interview. That affiliation led him to try and capture that essence in a way that wasn't just him trying to replicate US rappers. I find out why A Grand Don't Come For Free is my favourite of the two, but what happened to The Streets after this sophomore LP? Much like the space of time between the Original Pirate Material and A Grand Don't Come For Free, Skinner dropped the hardest way to make an easy living, Everything Is Borrowed, and Computers and Blues in 2006, 2008 and 2011 respectively. After the release of Computers and Blues, the final album to be released by The Streets at the time of recording this, Skinner dabbled with some other ventures, the biggest one being a collaboration with Robert Harvey called The Dot. In addition to that, Skinner composed music for the In-Betweeners movie, and even toyed with acting, starring in an episode of Doctor Who. In late 2017, two new tracks by The Streets titled Burn Bridges and Sometimes I Hate My Friends More Than My Enemies were released, with another single, If You Ever Need to Talk, I'm Here, following shortly after in January of this year. The Streets went on a sold-out UK tour this year, with another one next year, so it seems like the viability of Skinner's project is still very strong, so I don't give it long until we see a new full-length release. But of course you're here to listen to why I think this album is an essential listen, so let's just jump into our points, shall we? So the real big draw for Grand Don't Come For Free is both its concept and the execution of said concept, and even though it was released in 2004, it definitely wasn't the first hip-hop album to ever tinker with narratives or story writing. In Skinner's own words, A Grand came about because I got so into my songwriting manuals and books by Hollywood screenwriting gurus, not just Robert McKee but Sid Field and John Truby as well, and I wanted to try and put what I'd learnt from them into practice. Every song needs a drama at the centre of it, and once you have that drama, the song writes itself. That's what I firmly believed and still do believe. That aforementioned drama that is at the core of A Grand is, surprisingly enough, the £1,000 that the title alludes to. It isn't an explosive action romp full of set pieces, it's more of a film 4 type of story than it is a Marvel Cinematic Universe entry. But I don't think that's exactly a bad thing at all, and I won't be the first to make this sort of comparison to the show Seinfeld, where a lot of the events can feel very like inconsequential. Seinfeld is often regarded as being like the show about nothing, even the show itself was self-aware to that at the time, but really when everything comes together, like, there is always some sort of payoff, and on this album it definitely does develop into something really special. But I think for us to top at this story, we should just kind of like go through it in a summary. So yeah, let's jump into that. Our story starts off with Mike facing shit event after shit event, all culminating in him coming home to find his television broken and his £1,000 gone. After this happens, Mike starts seeing a girl who works with his pal Dan called Simone, who he has a clear connection with, talking to endlessly. After this positive moment, Mike tries to reclaim that grand by betting, kicking himself for not going in a football game where his team is winning, only to turn thankful after his prediction turns out to be wrong. Mike ends up going to a club where he's meant to be meeting Simone, who stoots him up, choosing to take Eckies to ignore his misery, and in his drug-fueled haze, thinks he sees Dan and Simone kissing. Simone and Mike eventually meet up again and move in, choosing to smoke weed and watch TV as opposed to drinking with mates down at the pub, only for this idyllic situation to turn sour when the couple argue and Mike is kicked out. In his rage, Mike tries to impress an attractive girl while progressively getting drunker, phoning a mate the following day to admit his infidelity and that he still has feelings for Simone. After going round to his mate Scott's, Mike begins to assume that he's stolen his coat, money and girlfriend, only for Scott to confess that Simone has been cheating on him with Dan. Mike grovels and deals with a breakup. The following day sees Mike deal with his life in two different ways. The first sees Mike in a bit of rage about everything that's happened, getting into a fight with the TV repairman over the price. The latter sees Mike reconcile with his mates and find the titular grand, having slipped into the back of the telly, causing it to screw up. Now that plot is pretty simple, but it's an interesting one, made so by Skinner's wordplay and generally brilliant vocab that slides in effortlessly with his informal quips. Also, my own summary does the album a disservice as each track fleshes out the characters moments and emotion in a way that just having a bullet points list of events does not do the impact of this album enough justice. It also strikes me as being a great component with how everything intertwines. The title of A Grand Don't Come For Free is seen over the course of the album with all the trials and tribulations Mike's had to face. Also love how Mike's character progresses throughout the album, starting off as a down on his luck fellow who has unhealthy coping mechanisms and an addictive personality who eventually realises the only person who can help him out is himself, becoming a more mature person who is hopeful of what's to come. Also dig how in Empty Cans there's a tiny touch of the angrier first half having Mike say it's not his fault, there's wall-to-wall empty cans, while the second half sees him take responsibility for it. It's little touches like that which really do make this element of the album just so strong. Another thing that I'd love to mention is how this album talks about communication and relationships that aren't just the big vital one. It's a hot topic to discuss technology nowadays, but the parallels Skinner draws between the incompetence of his mobile and how he communicates, or even fails to, with his friends and close ones, is one that isn't pandering or hits you over the head, but allows for a further layer to an experience that feels both intimate and another part tongue-in-cheek. For an album back in 2004 to explore this in a way that can still feel utterly timeless is another reason why I feel like I should commend it. But of course the story would be nothing without one other important element, and that's its production. Now, A Grand Don't Come For Free is often described as a rap opera, and there's various points on this record where, yeah, you can absolutely see this. What Is He Thinking is one of the prim examples, packing in the usual beats on top of an arrangement of strings and extraterrestrial synth lines, feeling like an urban equivalent of Jaws, where Skinner really tries to trap the listener in the same webbing of paranoia and suspicion that Mike has found himself in. Dry Your Eyes, a hugely popular single from this album, hasn't been dampened by all of its success, a minimalist track that allows for Mike to profess his sorrow over simple acoustics with the royalty-free melody tapping into an emotionally rich core. A miserable masterstroke of alternative hip-hop that definitely shares a bit in common with something like Coldplay at the time. That Choose Your Own Ending finale I mentioned isn't just Skinner, with Empty Cans featuring a more sinister attitude in its first half, Mike backed up by some slow-paced, angry keys and omnipresent drum. 3 minutes in, we're hit with the sound of a reversing tape, where we're met a few seconds later for a more joyous retelling of a different ending, the drums still being the same but the keys being a lot more upbeat, Mike himself singing along at the chorus in a more positive tone. I do find myself getting a fluttery feeling in my chest when this album comes to an end, happy to see an album so entrenched in misery finishing on a message that feels just as essential now as it did back then. Fit But You Know It is another big hitter from this record that dabbles the most with rock, with an enticing electric guitar ripped right from the Britpop craze, setting the stage for a sleazy, horny Mike to try and hit on the attractive girl the title alludes to. Think of it as like Girls and Boys by Blur, but a lot more self-aware. If I could only choose one song to sing a grand's praises production-wise, it would have to be Blinded by the Lights, the tingled with a two-step trance sound to utter perfection. Skinner again putting in the shoes of Mike as he travels through a nightclub looking for his mates, the tempo starting to shift near the end as he becomes overcome with his speckled decky high. And while I've praised production and story in two different parts, I think the symbiosis, how both these elements just come together and click so well, is what makes this album such a great listen. For me, yeah, I love this album, like no surprise this is the title of the video, but I can see why maybe like somebody who isn't a British listener might find this a bit jarring. Skinner's vocals definitely are like pure British, can maybe come off as, yeah, probably jarring or maybe even laughable for some people. I don't get that feeling at all. I think how Skinner, his voice, just like, it makes it such a great British record, because at the time, especially as a youth in Britain, with many places like closing down, a whole kind of image about young people, the name of Chav being thrown about, and that, like, it manages to kind of capture both the attitude of people back then, in a way that never feels like it's making fun of the character themselves. I think it just managed to capture that feeling of what it was like to be a youth back then. Obviously I was probably like 8 when this album came out, but like reflecting on it when I was a teenager, and that the way that people, especially from working class communities and from like kind of council housing and that, were viewed upon by people, and obviously growing up in those neighbourhoods, I think it manages to capture that feeling awfully well. And a fair few amount of concept albums have dropped after A Grand Don't Come For Free, ones that I would probably say are either more vital or that I enjoy more than this, but I don't think that like dampens my affection for this album. I still feel like in some sort of way that even 14 years later, it's still an essential album, that it still for me feels like a record that if somebody hadn't listened to it by now, I would definitely recommend it to them, because really for somebody who recorded this in their own flat for both the kind of like production to be as good as it was, when really you'd expect it to be a lot more amateurish, where things could have been a lot more, it could have been a lot more overproduced. The fact that the album still feels so level-headed, so down to earth, and hasn't aged badly at all. You might find certain things about this album maybe, like I say, laughable or maybe a bit corny, but to me that just adds to this charm. This is just such a charming record that honestly I feel like I'll love just for like the rest of my life as a person, as a lover of music. I really can't see how this would age badly for me. Really, I couldn't recommend it more for people who haven't listened to it. If you have listened to it, I want to know what you made of it. I know not everyone's going to be in the same like carriage as me, where I'm singing its praise and that they might find it a bit flawed. And again, I'm more than happy to hear what your suggestions are. But as far as I'm concerned, Grant.com for Free is the first record on the Liam the Music Reviewer Essential chart, I guess we'll call it. I'm hoping to add more albums to it. I just, yeah, I'll see how you guys react to this video, and we'll see how viable it is. Like, if you guys are wanting to see more of it, if you want to see a bit more kind of like monthly, bi-weekly, whatever, because there's, as you can see behind me, there's definitely a lot of vinyl and albums that I own, I like enough to own or love enough to own and pay for, and that, so I don't see why I couldn't make a whole series on this. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I've not rambled on for too long, and I'll speak to you very soon. As always, stay safe and stay hydrated.